when I listened to the parliamentarian, somebody saying he disrespected us, and therefore we are going to ensure that he goes. That the Constitution does not make disrespecting members of Parliament, National Assembly, a ground for impeachment.
Especially when they call themselves cows.
Yeah, particularly if they do so.
And they have subjected themselves to an exercise that is almost the equivalent of cattle rustling. That they've been rustled.
They rustled
from one camp and headed into another camp.
And even the decorum with which some of the members of Parliament, members of the National Assembly conducted themselves. In an impeachment process, I would have loved to see the Speaker of the National Assembly give due weight to some of the things that the individual, Mr. Gachagua, was putting on the table. But you could see the impatience on their faces when he's playing the video to say that these offenses that I'm being accused of have been committed by others without consequence. Why is it that I'm the one who is receiving the arrows? They are not interested. And Fred, the position is, if he survives, but I think he has the chance of a snowball in hell.
Absolutely.
Speaking of video he was using, did you notice it was all Citizen television footage? You noticed?
You
it
are
was
doing
not
good
lost
work.
on me.
You are doing good work.
I don't know whether he speaks well for you or he doesn't.
I'm just saying.
No, you are doing good work. You're doing great work.
Speaking of which, this is what he once said. I think he was saying, you know, what I'm doing, I'm just emulating what my boss is doing. I think that's a soundbite.
Yes.
Monica, do we have it?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. If the House took it that I say the House is a theater of the absurd, I was talking about this specific charge of undermining devolution by holding meetings to fight alcohol to be discussed in this House. That to me is what I thought that moment. If it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that would be the theater of the absurd. President William Ruto, my boss, and I have been calling out senior government officials when they fall short of expectations. The Director General of the National Intelligence Service is no exception. He's not above the law. He's accountable to the people of Kenya for his performance. And I have had an argument that we should not call out those in the security sector. I would like you to play the next video.
We have the most incompetent Inspector General of Police, I think, in the world. The most incompetent in the whole world. His incompetence may not necessarily play out when things are working, but when things get to a head and you need some decisions to be made, I can tell you for sure, the gentleman we have as an IG cannot make any decision.
Honorable members, that was President William Ruto as Deputy President criticizing IG Mutiabai, DCI Kinoti. Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss. In accordance with Article 2 of the Power Sharing Agreement, ANC at Fort Kenya would have a 30% share is a word, of the national government positions. This drives my utterances about shareholding. It is embedded in all these agreements. I want to confirm that I have tremendous respect for Kenyan women.
PLO, let me ask you this. If the impeachment goes through and he's sent home, that means he cannot stand for any public office for 10 years. Am I right or wrong?
Of course, the Constitution is clear that when he is impeached, then he is ineligible to hold public office.
Good.
And that will be a death knell for him. So that is the reason why I'm quite certain that Mr. Gachagua will not accept the counsel, unsolicited counsel of my good friend Barack. He's going to fight it to the very end. He is going to fight it in Senate. He's going to fight it in the High Court, to the Court of Appeal, and to the Supreme Court, because there'll be a mark of Cain on his forehead. And that mark will ensure that he does not participate in the politics of this country almost until he goes upstairs to the Mecca. Yeah. And if I were him at this stage, because he has chosen to fight, if he was to resign, it would have been a little earlier. But I think right now, he has, as the saying goes, as William Shakespeare, I think it is Macbeth, that he has waded so deep into blood that to go back is as tedious as to go forth. So he must go forth to the very end.
Keep going.
And let the chips fall where they may.
Where they may.
And I think it is also important for this country. And that is why I think that it is important that we listen to him in the Senate. I've listened to my good friend Paul Mwite making early arguments in the case I say, and Barack has also alluded to it. At what time was it proper to seek public opinion or public participation? They should have waited until he made his case on the floor of the National Assembly, so that the people will have heard him and heard the mover of the motion, but they put the cart before the horse. And as we said a little earlier, the choreography was a choreography that was designed to achieve an end, which end has been achieved in the National Assembly. But as we know, the journey is not yet over.
Barack, would you resign if you were him? At
this point, look, we heard a lot about a man who was described as a black man with a very black heart. Never mind the racist undertones in that sentiment. We heard a lot about very nefarious things which he's alleged to have done. And the public had a certain picture of him. He came out on Monday, he spoke, he made his statement, and by the time he was getting to the National Assembly, he had accumulated a reasonable fund of sympathy and empathy from right-thinking Kenyans. The best thing he could hope to get out of this whole exercise is to clear his name. And in my view, to the best possible extent, he has cleared his name.
I don't know what you were watching, Barack. I don't know what you were watching. 282 people.
It doesn't matter if you are talking about voting automatons that are mobilized Muppets that are sitting on the strings of the puppeteer, and he's pulling the strings, and people who have been saying that I'm not going to vote yes are voting yes.
Did you just call them Muppets?
Yeah, of course, they're Muppets or puppets. And there's
when my good friend, and I'm using the word friend rather loosely, I've never met the deputy president at all, says that it is a theater of the absurd. It is a theater of the absurd. If you look at the conduct of the members, they were not conducting themselves with due decorum. And I am suggesting that what Barack is saying has merit only in an environment where truth is given pride of place. But these were individuals who had taken a position. And there is a beautiful Kiswahili saying, anaye kutusi hakuchagulii tusi. Whatever comes to the mouth, that is what they spew out. They had taken a decision, and whatever truth that the deputy president was bringing forth to them, in their mind, it was useless. It was an exercise in futility. My hope, as I've already indicated, is that when he appears before Senate, the senators who have had the opportunity of going through this process when they are dealing with governors, I hope they listen to him a lot more keenly. I hope that they will listen to him and understand some of the things that he's saying so that they are given their due weight. But I suspect I'm hoping against hope.
Fall on hope.
Yeah. One of my favorite Swahili sayings, if I could piggyback on yours, is nyani hayoni
kundule kwa mapevu na makinda.
You know, he just nailed it.
They reached out to President Ruto last Saturday, sent him somebody, said, we have come to the end. The international community has abandoned us. People are against us, the church. We want to call off these demonstrations. Can you please give us an exit strategy? The President said, okay, fine, no problem. Go to Parliament and discuss with Kimani Ichung'wa, with Wandeto, with Wahome. Go and say what your issues are. Those people listen and make a decision, as we have nothing to do with you. The President called me, it was on a Sunday, he told me what they had told him. I said, fine. Let them go and talk to Parliament. But ourselves, we cannot engage Raila Odinga because before we can even agree to even talk to him, he must first acknowledge in public that President William Ruto is the President of Kenya. So the issue of us having a discussion does not even arise because he says he doesn't recognize William Ruto as president. So how do you talk to somebody who doesn't recognize your legitimacy? So we say, tell your MPs because they are elected to talk to ours. Isn't it? But as we cannot talk to Raila on what ground? Who is he in Kenya? We talk to him as who? He's just an ordinary citizen. Lakini kama ako na matatizo ya kibinafsi akuje tumusikize. But we cannot have an engagement with Raila Odinga because who is he in Kenya? He's not elected by anybody. And if he says he doesn't recognize President William Ruto as president, how can we then have a discussion? So let them go to Parliament and engage our members of Parliament. Waheshimiwa mtatuambia vile amesema. Nyinyi mumusikize as we have no time. Hatuna nafasi. We are busy with the economy.